holding a press conference at 11:30, so really within the next 30 or 40 minutes. They have only characterized this as a homicide that they are investigating here in the Midtown North precinct of Manhattan. But we are expecting more details, not just about Mr. Thompson's death, but also where they stand right now in finding the person responsible. Now, CNBC was able to confirm a couple of other details, namely that the shooter used a silencer and that it was a planned attack. That definitely tracks with what Mr. Thompson's wife told us earlier this hour. So all of that is information that's out there at this point. There is some reporting that the person may have been waiting 10 or 12 minutes ahead of time. We do not have that confirmed. The location, obviously, of where the search is focusing, not confirmed at this hour, but we are expecting an update momentarily. Jose?
Sam, thank you so very much. Frank, I'm just wondering, with the information that Sam has been able to gather and glean for us, what are you seeing here?
So there's a few things going on simultaneously right now. You've got the immediate crime scene that it has to be processed. NYPD is great at that. They'll be looking for spent shell casings. Of course, the cameras that all tie in together in Manhattan, and the police department has access to that. That crime scene's going on simultaneously with a fugitive hunt. We have a murderer on the loose in New York City. He could be anywhere at this point with the the proximity of public transportation, but the cameras are going to help with that, as are the public. This guy had a mask on, so he's got that off now. He may have changed clothing. And then, third, we've got this deep background investigation that's going on in conjunction with corporate security at United Healthcare. I spent 5 years at a high level of corporate security, Fortune 10 company. I can tell you, just the idea that this was an investors meeting rings bells for me. Shareholder meetings, investor meetings for large corporations are perhaps the most highest security challenge for a company. You've got people who are unhappy, for example, with the performance of the company. They're all coming. It's tightly secured. It may be why this event happened outside of the building, because once the CEO entered that conference, there would be extremely tight security. It could also be that in a mega corporation employing 500,000 people around the world, ensuring 170 million clients around the world, you're going to have people upset with the insurance company on any given day. And corporate security typically keeps a list. I used to call it the frequent flyer list of people who are irate, concerning, troubling. The NYPD will be asking corporate security, give us your list. Who is it that's been threatening your CEO lately?
So many issues to look at, Frank, and I'm just, for the things that you mentioned and that Sam was mentioning, do we take anything out of the fact that this person used a silencer? And it all seems to indicate, from Sam's reporting and CNBC, is that this may have been a planned affair.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's looking like this was targeted. The CEO was targeted. This is someone with a beef with this man and or his company. The use of the silencer is to draw less attention in a crowded rush hour environment in Midtown Manhattan. I've stayed at that Hilton. I've spoken at large conventions at that Hilton, most notably the New York Bar Association. And I can tell you many exits and entrances, thousands of people attending conventions, coming in and out, grabbing morning coffee, all of that chaos. This man did not want to be heard when he did this, and the mask means he did not want to be seen. But this person will get caught eventually. He's too tied to this company or this CEO.
And also and you talked about this earlier, I mean, the cameras that exist all around the place, and if he got into the subway system, there are cameras there, but it's the fact that there is a gunman out there, a killer out there, that we haven't been able to find.
Yeah, it's a concern. If there's any bright spot in this, and there's never a bright spot in a fatality, but people should understand, if they're worried about going about their business, that this really does seem to be targeted, that this does not seem to pose a threat to the general population. I know, 30 Rock is going to have a tree lighting this evening. The Christmas decorations are up. I think you'll see extended security for that event, but I would feel very safe attending that event tonight.
Frank Figliuzzi, thank you so very much. Sam Brock, thank you. The NYPD will be giving an update on the shooting at 11:30 Eastern. Of course, we will bring that to you when it happens. situation that is still developing at this hour. And now to what could be a critical moment for President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, back on Capitol Hill today for more meetings with lawmakers. This, as multiple Republican sources tell NBC News, as many as 6 Republican senators are currently not comfortable supporting Hegseth's bid to lead the Pentagon. Meantime, President-elect Trump is said to be considering replacing Hegseth with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. That's according to 2 sources familiar with the decision-making. NBC News reached out to DeSantis' office and the Trump transition team, but has yet to receive a response. And NBC News has exclusive reporting that 10 current and former Fox News employees allege Hegseth drank alcohol in ways that concerned them. Trump transition spokesperson called the allegations disgusting, completely unfounded, and false. All this as the president-elect's choice to head the Drug Enforcement Administration, Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cronister, has withdrawn his name from consideration. With us now, NBC News correspondent Garrett Hake, NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Cubie, MSNBC political analyst Juanita Tolliver, and Lance Trover, a Republican strategist who served as spokesman for Doug Burgum's presidential campaign. So we'll get to Hegseth in just a minute. But first, Garrett, we just got word that Donald Trump is bringing Peter Navarro back to the White House.
That's right. Peter Navarro, who was a senior trade advisor for Donald Trump in his first administration, then spent time in prison for contempt of Congress for refusing to talk to the January 6th committee, will now be coming back in the second Trump administration in a similar role. He'll be a trade and manufacturing policy advisor. This is a position that wouldn't have to be confirmed by the Senate. He'll be able to continue to give advice and counsel to former President Trump on the issue that's perhaps closest to his heart, tariffs and how and where to apply them around the world. Jose.
And Courtney, now going back to the Hegseth issue, it seems that Donald Trump may be having some second thoughts about Hegseth. Is DeSantis the only name on the list of potential replacements?
No, he's not, Jose. We're hearing about a couple of other possibles. I should say that ever since Donald Trump, frankly, even before he became the president-elect, we've been hearing about a whole long list of individuals who could be selected to be to lead up the Department of Defense. And this is no different. What is different this time, though, is this is the first time that we're hearing about real talk about the possibility of Pete Hegseth, who was selected to be Donald Trump's Pentagon Secretary of Defense, the first time that we're hearing some questioning of the possibility of his nomination actually making it all the way through to a confirmation. So you mentioned Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He has some military experience. He was a JAG, or an attorney in the military. And then, of course, he's been running the state of Florida as a governor. So he has experience running a government organization, institution. Also, we are hearing about Republican Senator from Iowa, Joni Ernst, also military experience. Of course, she's a senator, so she has experience in government. We're also hearing about a somewhat surprising name, and that is Florida Republican Congressman Mike Waltz. Now, of course, he was named to be the national security advisor for President-elect Donald Trump. So this would be a move before he actually really is even in the job of national security advisor to a new role. Mike Waltz, of course, served in the military and special forces, did combat deployments, and he has become very close to Donald Trump and to the Trump family in recent years. Now, in addition to that, we're also hearing another name that may be familiar from throughout all of this transition time, and that's Republican Senator from Tennessee, Bill Hagerty. He was a name that we heard during the possibility of who was going to run the State Department. He is another one. He has a little bit more diplomatic experience, having served in his position as an ambassador. But all those names are out there. Again, Jose, the reason that this is so notable today is that for the last several weeks, despite all of the concerns we've heard about Pete Hegseth and some of his policy decisions, and now these character concerns that have been coming out over the last 3 weeks or so, for the first time now, we are hearing real talk about people who could possibly replace him for the job, Jose.
And Courtney, I mean, I know you helped break the story of the current and former Fox News employees speaking out about Pete Hegseth's alleged drinking. How concerned are they?
Yeah, so this goes to one of those character concerns that we frankly have been hearing about now in multiple reports. But where ours is a little bit different here is this is talking, we spoke with, as you mentioned, 10 current and former Fox News employees who spoke about how his drinking impacted them while they were working with him. Now, these are individuals who said that he would show up for the popular weekend news program Fox and Friends, sometimes only minutes before the show was about to go on the air. And at times he would be clearly hungover, even talking about it. There were even several occasions where he came in still smelling of alcohol from the night before, talking about how he had been out late or not even being home at all. And this caused a lot of stress and pressure on the staff. As anyone knows who's worked on a show, when the host is not always reliable, it causes a lot of pressure and concern for the people who are working on that show. Now, I should point out, none of these individuals said that they can recall a time where he didn't show up for an appearance or he was actually notably, visibly drunk on the air. But they did say that this was something that caused a lot of concern behind the scenes. It was something that people talked about. And while we know about cases back to 2017, instances where this was occurring, we also spoke with individuals who said it was even in more recent years that there were still concerns about this happening while he was at Fox News, Jose.
Courtney Keavy, thank you very much. Garrett, Hegseth responded to the allegations with a post on X this morning that reads in part, quote, "Our warriors never back down and neither will I." He says he won't back down, but what are you hearing from Republican senators?
Well, look, Hegseth is full steam ahead. He's continuing with his meetings today. His mother, who was involved in one of these episodes, having sent an email that was then leaked to the New York Times about Hegseth's character, was on Fox News this morning defending him. We believe Hegseth himself may sit for an interview later today to defend himself more completely than he's done thus far. But there are questions among senators, including folks who have more sort of a pro-Trump bent. It's not just kind of the remaining more moderate, more traditional Republican senators who are concerned about Hegseth, and I think these meetings are going to be very important. Now, these lawmakers understand they don't want to have the wrath of Trump brought down on them by sticking their necks out and publicly saying they'd be a no vote, especially before Hegseth has gotten to a confirmation hearing or really had a chance to defend himself and have these meetings more completely. But there are sort of varying degrees of dug-in-ness here, from lawmakers who didn't like the Hegseth pick to begin with, to those who are becoming increasingly concerned by the drip, drip, drip of negative press coverage he's received more or less nonstop over the last week.
Yeah, I mean, and Garrett, there has been talk of maybe 2 or 3 Republican senators who, in general terms, could be seen to go one way or another on Trump's different choices, but it's more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, 2 or 3 is not necessarily a problem. Republicans are going to have a 3-seat majority in the Senate, which means they can afford 3 no votes, assuming every Democrat opposes a nominee, and still get their nominees confirmed with J.D. Vance breaking a tie. So it's only if you get more than 3 no votes that you find yourself really in trouble. When we were tracking the Matt Gaetz nomination to be for Attorney General, we were hearing about upwards of 6 potential no votes. That's kind of the ballpark where we are right now with Hegseth, although it's not clear that any of those no votes are as dug in as the opposition to Gaetz was. It's a fluid situation, and Hegseth is clearly being given some time by the Trump team to try to clean it up himself. But the clock very well may be ticking as Trump is continuing to announce other Pentagon posts, including a nominee for Secretary of the Army, which he selected just within the last 20 minutes.
Lance, what do you make of all this?
Well, Look, I think if you are that concerned about Pete Hegseth, and he's up for one of the biggest jobs in the country, if you are that concerned, my issue with this story is no one's willing to go on the record and put their name out there. If you are that concerned about his drinking on the job and stuff, for gosh sakes, just put your name out there and tell us how